or is James able to pull off the victory without it? We'll have to see going into it. But here, let's take a look at the player profiles for both players here today. Christian, as before, this is pretty much their first time in the limelight here. Meanwhile, James Cox, 2020 Players Cup top 16 in the first one, 2020 Regionals top 16, 2019 Worlds top 8, and a 2019 Melbourne Special Event top 8 or top 16. So a very accomplished player in the Oceania region, and will be looking to continue their accolades here today.
Absolutely looking to take down Christian and continue on here. Once again, this is the loser's bracket, so a loss here does send you home, but a win continues your journey on through the bracket and through the Players' Cup too. Let's go ahead and get down to the game, see how this coin flip goes, and see how these opening turns play out for both of these players. Like we've mentioned before, it's kind of an interesting thing here because, you know, I think both players are fine with whoever wins the flip, because I think Christian would rather go first, and I think James would rather go second.
Yeah, exactly. And both players mulliganing here a little bit. Did Dene GX start here from Christian?
Gosh.
Shades of their last match against Francesco, where they started Crobat V and nothing else. And will we just see the unfortunate draw pass here again today? Quick ball off the top.
I would have felt so bad for Christian if they just had... I mean, this hand looks almost exactly the same as the hand we saw in game number 1, but that quick ball top deck makes things so much better for Christian. And actually, after the Intrepid Sword, I think the hand is pretty solid, if you ask me. So what was a little scary turns into a pretty solid turn 2 for Christian potentially.
Missing something just like the water energy and a switching effect for a turn 2 Altered Creation GX next turn. And meanwhile, James deciding to just Professor Research the entire hand away, opting for no Marnie help here for Christian. So plays the Speed Lightning now, and a full brand new hand here. What does James decide to do?
Attaching this energy to the active does make it pretty hard to pull off and electrify this turn. It is technically still possible with Tapu Koko, Prism Star, and Dance of the Ancients, but it is just going to be a pass from James. So really, really rough go of things to start off here. And like I said, Christian has a very solid hand, has the energy switch to move to the Arceus Dialga Palkia. You could even see the second energy switch move an energy to the Dedenne, so you give yourself that guaranteed retreat. And I don't know that I would necessarily hate that play. But
drawing the quick ball for the turn as well just ignites a lot more opportunity for Christian here. Finds that Oranguru to use Primate Wisdom to put the energy possibly back on top of the deck here.
Just going to go ahead and go with the research. I think getting the Oranguru here is just because you can find times later on in the game. Ooh, we actually see Christian only had the one water energy in the deck. So thankfully was able to find it thanks to Energy Spinner. But getting the Oranguru does just give yourself an opportunity to play around something like Marnie. Oh, this could be a big Mawile. James has a huge hand, but no basic Pokemon.
And what a hand from James, too. Having the electromagnetic radar and quite a lot of utility for next turn.
And we see the heart come out from James saying, you know what, you played your Mawile down, better luck in game 2 with that one. And James is still in kind of an odd spot here, doesn't really have too much of a field set up. We did see that Crushing Hammer in hand as well, so that could be a key card to play here, especially since we know that Christian prized the other water energy.
Yeah, that is very important. If we see something like a Crushing Hammer come down.
Christian here daring James to hit heads. Christian very aware that Crushing Hammer's in hand. Here it is. Oh, no. Ooh. Is so Tails. Close. Christian maybe saving himself there by, daring James to do it.
Yeah, you affect the randomness of the coin flip by egging it on.
Hey, that's how it works, right? We'll
quick
see
ball
the
coming
quick ball
down
here. Definitely could see a energy switch play in order to get off the full blitz here, and a turn that didn't look the best for James can turn into one that looks really, really great. Kind of funny there seeing the energy attached to the Tapu Koko just to be discarded. But this is the problem here for this deck when you're not playing the Mewtwo and Mew. You're going to get to attack with this Pikachu and Zekrom, but it's in risk of just being KO'd right away by a Brave Blade.
Yeah, I think the one benefit that James does have to look out for is the amount of Metal Saucer that Christian has played already just to get the turn 2 Altered Creation GX off. I think it's 2 or 3. So they're going to need to dig a little bit further to find that last one or another energy switch energy. And at least with the hand here, it's looking all right.
Yeah, it looks pretty solid here. And also a big, big draw for James was getting that big charm down. I think based on what you said as well with the amount of energy, or sorry, the Metal Saucers that have been played, maybe just going with the big charm on the bench would have been fine because your opponent can't pick up this KO. We know that Christian does not play Tool Scrapper in their list, so Pikachu Zekrom will hang on. I'm kind of curious here as to why maybe we didn't just see the ultimate ready to load up the field with energy.
Well, Christian is digging for one of the 4 copies of Pokemon Catcher that they play right now.
Ooh.
If he is able to find one of those and get heads, all 4 copies are in there. That is a clean knockout on that benched Pikachu and Zekrom GX. 2 Pokemon Catcher in the hand here.
2 chances.
Tails. Oh no.
The double tails.
The heartbreak.
And just short of picking up the KO, does deal 240 damage exactly, but Big Charm makes it so Pikachu Zekrom is able to hang on.
That is just unfortunate. This is some quality gameplay, Christian says. Not hitting those Pokemon catchers and his opponent hitting those crushing hammers.
Quality gameplay indeed. Now we'll see what James wants to do here. One of the things that Pikachu Zekrom can struggle to do is pick up KOs on things like Zacian V. I'm really surprised we haven't seen more Leon come out for this exact reason. It is something that you could play in order to pick up a one-hit KO with Zacian V having 220 HP. Francesco's the only Pikachu Zekrom player we've seen so far today playing that card.
Well, listen, when boss's orders is enough for most of the time... You just have to rely on that. So I think it's really just the way the meta has shaped out. I think going forward, Leon might be a card that is included more of as a one-of in a lot of decks for this reason. But it's kind of how we saw people not really play Tool Scrapper for the first Pokemon Players Cup. And then for this one, it's pretty much a one-of in every deck.
Yeah, definitely something I think people scarred from how successful Lucario and Melmetal decks have been in this past couple of months, and of course taking first and second place in the very first Players' Cup. James here playing out the hand is able to eye up the Eldegoss V here. We'll have access to any of the supporters that they have played so far this game with that Happy Match ability.
All right, well... Looking at the state of things, James will need to figure out what their game plan here is actually. You have the 150 damage on that Arceus Palkia GX on the bench, but you have the 240 damage on the active. Decides to attach the Speed Lightning energy to the active to draw 2 extra cards and try to figure out something here. Does have Quick Ball. Will be able to find something like the Dene GX, but remember, every time you find a Pokemon that's lower HP, it's just a little bit of a detriment in play.
And we'll see the boss's orders here on the Eldegoss. Maybe eyeing up that Arceus Palkia that's got 150 damage on it already. Does award you 3 prizes for taking this KO. One of the things this does do, though, is that it resets the effect of Brave Blade. Of course, attack that you cannot use in consecutive turns, but that effect only remains if that Pokemon stays as the active Pokemon. Anytime you go to the bench in the Pokemon trading card game, all effects such as that do get cleared. So Christian is going to be free to use Brave Blade here with this Zacian V.
Yeah, James going down to 3, charges up that Pokemon on the bench. So if this Pokemon catcher hits heads, no. And that is 3 tails in a row from Christian here to try and take down that bench Pikachu and Zekrom. And looking for a little bit of help here from this professor's research.
Pretty unfortunate here. I think, Christian really would have loved to have found the other catcher to try to get a heads, but does not quite find it. And James here in a position where he could close out the game on this turn and has a pretty big hand to make that happen, is just going to need an energy card and a boss's orders, and we could see the tag bolt for the remaining 3 prizes. And there's the energy. Let's see it. Is there a boss's orders?
Yep.
There it is. Back-to-back turns, able to pull it off, and Christian gonna go ahead and concede game number 1. And we've seen a lot more tag bolt today than I would have expected.
Yeah, we're bringing it back to when Team Up first came out. Pikachu and Zekrom GX is the top of the format. Tag Bolt is taking 3 to 4 prizes pretty much every game. It's a great life.
Yeah, and that's an attack we really just haven't seen utilized as much in these decks. I think mostly due to the fact that Thunder Mountain Prism Star isn't in the format. You know, you feel really bad committing 6 energies to one Pokemon if that Pokemon just gets, KO'd right away, as we saw with the Tails from Christian there in that game. Would have been able to KO the Pikachu Zekrom with a ton of energies on the bench, but, Thunder Mountain, meaning you only needed to have 5 energies, of course. But moving into game number 2 here, do you think we need to see any adjustments from Christian in order to try to win a game 2 and a game 3?
Flipping heads would be a good adjustment. That's step number 1.
Yeah.
But basically, just you have to avoid that big charm. It's the thing I was talking about before with why these Pikachu and Zekrom decks were including the Mewtwo and Mew GX. It's for that fact of the extra HP. And so having the access to 2 big charms in the deck lets those Pikachu and Zekrom live a Brave Blade, and it really puts the pressure on the Arceus Dialga Palkia player to kind of figure out how am I going to navigate around that Pokemon.
Right, and Christian is one of the few Arceus Dialga Palkia players I think we have seen so far choosing not to play that Tool Scrapper, and that's something that could have been really key in that game because you don't even have to play it on the turn that you're attacking into the Pikachu Zekrom that has the big charm on it, right? Because you can always discard it later. It still already has 240 damage on it, and it will be KO'd once that tool gets removed, and then Christian would have just been able to knock out whatever it was that James sent to the active spot. But with that being said, we are ready for game number 2. Let's go ahead and see how these players get set up and what is going to happen in this second game. As always, like I mentioned earlier, this is the loser's bracket. So if you lose here, you head home, but if you win, you get to continue your journey to try to be Players Cup 2 champion.
All right, the hand does not have a support starter yet, and very close for Christian to start that Dedenne GX yet again.
I was really worried we were going to see another support Pokemon start on Christian's side.
All right. Starts the game with Energy Spinner, checking everything that is in the prizes. And the one good thing about Christian's deck is you pretty much play 4 of everything except for the 2 air balloon. So it's really easy to check what's prized.
Definitely makes things a bit easier. I wonder if we'll see Christian just go ahead with the Deadeye change here, and that is the case. Wow. Oh, I maybe would have liked to have seen the Mawile GX there. Your opponent has a pretty sizable hand.
Yeah, thanks to the mulligans, giving James a little extra cards there.
Mawile actually looks like was not in the deck, so that would be why Christian did not go for the Mawile, I think, in that spot.
Doesn't play 4 of that card.
Not quite, no. But over to James's side, thanks to the mulligans of Christian, has a lot to work with, and we see the first Crushing Hammer is going to be Tails, but we know that Pikachu and Zekrom can draw a ton of cards on their first turn, and, well, you know what? Sometimes you just open up with a couple of hammers, and that works out, too. Oh, 3 hammers, how about that? And there,
yeah, not bad.
Another heads.
Yeah, when Christian flips 3 tails and loses the game, but James can flip 3 heads on the first turn for game 2. It's pretty insane luck here.
Oh,
even
there was
having
the fourth Crushing
Hammer in hand. Wow.
I think there was a pretty high chance after James opened that hand that Christian was going to lose a couple of energies there, or at least one. But we'll see the electromagnetic radar does get the Pikachu and Zekrom and nothing else. So that tells me it looks like we will see the Dene or a research potentially.
No, just the research.
There we go. And this is great. It means you don't have to put the Dedenne GX in play. You can play around that being KO'd by a Ultimate Ray, which is great. And James was able to find the Energy, the Bolton V, and the switching card in order to get off the turn 1 Electrify. Maybe discarding I think besides just discarding the one extra hammer, this turn was pretty perfect for James.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't really say much better for anything else that he did. And it puts a lot of pressure on Christian to really just put forth much of a game here.
And I want to point out how key hitting that second heads was on the Crushing Hammer, because your opponent has an energy switch in hand already. So if James had just flipped tails on one of those Crushing Hammers and only gotten rid of one energy in play, Christian had the energy switch ready to go, and after drawing a bunch of metal energies, it looks like it's just going to have to be an Intrepid Sword, and we're not going to see the turn 2 Altered Creation.
Yeah, we're not going to see the turn 2. I don't even know if we'll possibly see the turn 3. The sigh from Christian there. This is not the way you lay out your Arceus Dog Palkia deck to perform, especially against something like Pikachu and Zekrom, where you can't really take the turn off.
We're going to go ahead and see Quick Ball here grabs the Tapu Koko V and thins it out right away. Just wants to, you see this from a lot of players. I think it's an important skill in the Pokemon trading card game, deck thinning, getting rid of cards that are not going to be useful so you don't run the risk of drawing them later on whenever, it could clog up your hand.
All right, well, there is the Marnie from James. And the big charm, that's huge. It does now put Pikachu and Zekrom out of the range of an Altered Creation GX plus Brave Blade. But we're pretty far from that for Christian anyway here.
We do see the switch as well. That was a big hit, able to full blitz, get those extra energies in play. Christian here, I wonder if you just have to, kind of what we saw from Diego in one of their earlier games, right? Have to forego the Altered Creation, or maybe take a chance here, which is what we see Christian actually doing by bossing up a Bolton V and maybe try to stick it active for a turn. Maybe your opponent doesn't have a switch card here and you can buy yourself an opportunity to get back in this. This actually is a pretty solid play, I think, from Christian.
Yeah, well, you got to play to your outs, and we saw Diego do that a little bit earlier, so really heads up play here, kind of putting it all on the line. Does have that Altered Creation GX now activated, so it'll be interesting to see if Christian's able to put some sort of game together, even has a Professor's Research as their last card in hand.
Pretty solid last card, if you ask me. Oof. And does find the switch. That is brutal. And the second big charm as well, putting the Dedenne out of range of an Ultimate Ray KO. Not going to be super relevant here since, of course, Arceus Dialga Palkia is going down. Christian does at least have a Zacian V ready to start attacking, but since we know Christian does not play the Tool Scrapper in his list, it's going to really kind of be on to the Pokemon catchers to win the game here for Christian.
Yeah, exactly. And Christian's going to need to find some of those heads flips that James found earlier on in this game. Finds the one Pokemon catcher. Oh, yet again. Christian cannot find a coin flip in these matches.
An absolutely brutal flip there for Christian. Does have just the one Metal Saucer left in the deck. I'm going to go ahead and just thin as many energies out as possible here. I think Christian just saying, I need to increase my odds as much as I can to hit the catcher. Let's see the flip. Oh no.
That's heartbreaking.
Another Tails. Yeah,
5 Tails in a row to lose the game there for Christian. Already on the back foot, so didn't really have much of a hope, and placing all of it in those Pokemon catchers just to have them